Hey guys, it's Trev. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to install the Hansshow Powerliftgate for the Model 3. And as an extra bonus, well, I'll publish it as a separate video on how to install an eco hitch on your Tesla Model 3. So the first part of the step here is to remove a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to give you a complete rundown on the how-to. I'm going to refer you to my friend Michael Bodner, Tesla Tunity YouTube channel. There'll be a link in the video description. You can watch his step-by-step. So the installation of this particular kit, as you can see here, I have all the parts kind of laid out, is largely the same. The main difference with this kit is some slight changes in the hardware, but I'm also taking the opportunity here to install my eco hitch. I will publish that as a separate video, and the reason I had to take the bumper off other than to put the eco hitch on is because they also sent me the foot sensor kit. That's what's in this little box right here, so you can wave your foot on the bottom and it will open the rear trunk. So I figured, you know what, kill two birds with one stone, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Let me give you a very quick rundown on how you take the bumper off. First thing you need to do is take the tail lights out. So there's a rubber knob you got to take off there, two 8mm bolts, and the whole section slides out. Of course, undo the power cable. And then on the bottom of the car in the diffuser, which I have laying down right here, you can see. So it's held on with a bunch of clips around the body. There's a bolt here you have to take off, and some push pins in the fender liner, and that's over there. You got to take those out, and a bunch of bolts. This is the worst bolt of the bunch, by the way. So the diffuser on the bottom comes out, and you take these two bolts, they're exposed. This one, on the other hand, is hidden underneath, so you have to pull back on the fiberboard to get at it. That one's a bit of a pain in the butt. But other than that, you can see here the whole thing slides out. By the way, you'll notice here my car has the new rear diffuser with the built-in door, specially designed for cars that have the hitch in Europe. Of course, in North America, it's not available yet. You have to buy an eco hitch, but it fits perfectly. By the way, I'm told that you can buy this new diffuser from Tesla Service if you want it. It's about $130 US. So here are the body clips. That's what holds the bumper on. You got to be super careful when you take this off. I recommend you put tape in this area here so they don't scratch up your paint. I have ceramic coating and PPF, so I'm not too worried about it. Besides, the tape wouldn't even stick to the car. Then you have to take this plastic trim off. It's just held on with clips, comes out. And then there's a few push pins you got to pull out here, and then one underneath. So you can pull the carpet back, and that helps you take out the taillights. Anyway, so that's the process at this point. We are going to remove the bumper, but like I said, that'll be published in a separate video. We're going to concentrate on efforts on getting the liftgate stuff installed. Pulling off the plastic's pretty easy. You just reach in and just pull it off. The hardest part at this point was trying to get this wire put in. Now, we haven't actually tackled it at this point. We managed to get a wire in there with some lube. This comes off pretty easily. We've pulled it all the way out, and it's actually coming out down here in the bottom. We had some confusion at first because we weren't too sure where the cable for the wiring harness goes in, but there's a great big hole here. You do have to pull off the garnish here in the bottom, and it'll come out this hole here in the back. I'll show you that a little bit later once we actually get it through. So wish us luck at this point, but this isn't too bad. This is just some copper wire that I put in there. Make sure you put some wire lubricant on there. It'll make it go easy. But the other end of this cable is this puppy right here. And yeah, this is going to be proving to be interesting. So we'll lube it up and we'll pull it through, and hopefully it'll come. Well, we attempted to fish this wire through there with the connector on the end, but we eventually gave up, so we snipped it off. Yeah, exactly. So we'll just resolder the wires back on. The manufacturer told me that newer kits don't have this connector on the end. You put it on after the fact. So anyways, might be easier for you to get through next time, but this time we're going to do it this way. The worst of it is over. We finally fished it through. As I said, we ended up cutting the connector off. And then the rest of the process is just replacing the built-in connectors with the ones that are spliced in. I mean, you can't screw anything up. And there's another one you have to do in there. And lastly, one cable left over. So this button right here, sorry for the focus. Anyways, that's going to go into a trunk button right here. They give you the drill bit, and we're going to go right in here. Sorry about the focus. We're going to go right here between these two ribs, and that should give us the exact position for the button. All right, so the underside of the trunk garnish has been reinstalled, and you can see here's the button, and then we have the two motorized lift struts installed. Cables are run inside. We've run all the cables in. However, we are going to call this a day for now. I'll end up finishing up the electrical work on another day.
24 hours later.
I want to talk about the wiring system on this car. Obviously, I had to snip the connector off in order to pass the wire through the conduit. Now the manufacturer tells me that they actually do this from the factory now, so they give you this pigtail, so you will have to do a little bit of resoldering, but it's not that big of a deal. You just strip off the ends, tin it, put your heat shrink on there, and then resolder it. At least the connectors are all color coded, so you can't screw anything up. This kit is a little different from some of the others you might have seen on the internet, because they have this special wire right here, which actually powers the trunk lights. I guess they're fooling the system or whatever, but anyways, the standard trunk lights don't work anymore. It has to pull power from that system for whatever reason, so you have to replace the lights on there with a new wiring harness that they give you. It's super simple. It's just one end, and then the other end is a Y connector, and it goes into here. All right, so the ends are all stripped. Now we're ready to tin them. The ends are all tinned now, so all I have to do is apply a little bit of heat shrink to each one of these conductors, solder the pieces together, and then heat shrink these on, and then we're ready to go. So all of my solder joints have been done, and I've doubled and triple checked them to make sure that they're solid on there. Heat shrink is ready to go. Don't use electrical tape. Electrical tape is just too sticky when it gets hot and it makes a mess. Heat shrink is your friend. And there you go. Can you imagine doing that with electrical tape? It would be just a morass. Yeah, I love heat shrink. Now, in order for it to close the trunk, we have to remove the built-in catch, and we have to replace it with the motorized one. You will need a T45 bit, and I have actually marked the center position of where this is, so that when I put the new one on, I can make sure that it's in the right position for all this stuff. So don't miss that step, otherwise things could potentially not line up for you. And I've realized that marking this is strictly important because there is a floating capture plate in there, which is one of the reasons I put the screw in there. Hopefully it doesn't fall out. Yeah, make sure you do that. Otherwise you'll be in trouble. Probably best not to over tighten these bolts until you get everything positioned. And then all we have to do is take the soft close mechanism and route it here into the corner and just tuck the cable here underneath the carpet. This is the control box that ships with the kit. This is one of the last steps we have to do. Second to last anyways. We have to run power to the front of the car. I'll show you that next. All of the connectors are labeled, so you have these blue connectors. These go to each one of the liftgate struts. And then you have a connector for the soft close mechanism. And then finally, the other white connector here goes into the box, and that controls the buttons and so on and so forth. Everything is color coded. It only fits in one place. You can't screw anything up. This is by far the easiest part of the installation. That's it. The only other cable we have to run here is from the purple side. This is the purple power connector, and that goes to the front of the car, through the side, and through the firewall grommet and connect to the battery. Now the last step before we do any kind of troubleshooting or buttoning everything up is to run the power cable that they give you. It's really long to go from the control box to the front battery. Before I actually run that through the car, I actually want to do a test right now. So I'm actually going to run the power cable outside the car to the battery, do a quick test, and see where it leads us. Hopefully we don't have any problems. So the purple power connector goes into the control box, and then there's two other connections you need to make. I've set my ground to be on that post here in the back of the car. So they give you this fusible link. It's plugged into 12-volt power here on the battery with a bullet connector. I'm just going to attach the cable here temporarily and give it a quick go, make sure we get power before we actually permanently run the wire through the car and then through the rubber grommet here in the firewall. Here goes nothing. Oh, we have a red light. Red light is flashing. That tells me that the computer at least is booted up. According to the instructions, it should just work right now. So I'm going to move all the cables and the boxes out of the way, and we're going to give this a quick test to make sure everything works. Lights on. We can adjust the speed later, but it is working. Okay, it does work. We'll adjust the speed. We have a little bit of fine tuning to do, but so far it works. In order to pass the power through the firewall, just pull the side cover off right here. Just pulls off with clips, and then you can pull the carpet back right about here, and you can see that grommet right there. So those two voltage lines go into the firewall. I would recommend you take a small, tiny little screwdriver and over to the right-hand side, poke a small hole, make them progressively bigger. Make sure you do not nick these wires. Put it over there and you can pass that cable through, and then I'll show you where you pull it out. You probably can't see it here, but once you remove the air cover, down in here behind this air plenum is the 2 orange wires. And if you reach in there, like I said, put the hole to the right, and then you'll be able to reach right in there and just pull the power cable out. All right, so once you have your power cable installed, you can just pass along the trim along the bottom. It's easy to tuck it in right underneath. It's literally just underneath there. By the way, the side bolster here, if you just pull right here, it'll just pop right out. When you get to this spot here by the passenger, you can pull back on this and it will lift up. I recommend you route the cable up inside of here, and you can see here that it comes right here, and then you can pass it through right through there, and the cable pulls out. Where is it here? Right here. You pull the cable out that way. To set the speed on this, it's pretty straightforward. Just press and hold the button until you hear the beep, and then keep holding until you hear successive beeps. So that's the slowest speed. That's the next one. 4. There's 6 speeds. 5. I like 5. Press that. Much faster now. There you go. By the way, even though I installed the included foot actuator kit, which is actually optional, but they sent it to me here as part of the review, I didn't actually hook it up. It turns out you need to do some modifications to the wiring harness, which I was not prepared to do, so sorry, can't show you that function. As far as opening or closing the trunk, well, of course you can use the button, you can use the app on your phone, and you can even do it from the front screen of your car. I don't have a key fob, so I can't attest to whether that works or not. I would imagine if it does support that, then it would be just the same. It actually fools the system into thinking that the trunk is always closed, so that's how they can get away with the button and stuff, but it seems to work quite well. So the installation is finished. I buttoned everything up. I do have to do a little bit of tweaking and stuff as far as the speed is concerned, but I want to take a few moments here and just give you my final thoughts on the installation process. I'm a handy guy. I'm not afraid to tackle any kind of projects, but I'll tell you, this kit is frustrating. It takes a long time, so unless you're handy and not afraid to tackle some things, I would suggest you seek professional help. Installation. And be prepared for a swear jar and much teeth gnashing and, you know, cuts and bruises and stuff. I have lots of plenty on my hand. Is it a difficult kit to install? Yes and no. The worst part of it, of course, is the wiring that you have to do and passing the cables through. Some of you might be asking, is it worth to do this? Well, my opinion here is that if you're absolutely desperate for a power closing trunk on a Model 3, well, there's not a lot of choices out there. This is an aftermarket kit, as you can imagine, so you know it'll be fraught with some perils and so on and so forth. But am I glad I've done it? Well, it's nice to have, but there's nothing wrong with a manual opening or closing trunk. Let's face it, most sedans on the market are exactly like that. Is it handy? Sure. Is it worth the cost? Well, that's for you to decide. Speaking of which, if you're interested in buying this kit, I'll put a link down in the video description, and there'll be a discount coupon code to use if you want to buy one of these things. The guys at Hansshow were very kind enough to send me this kit for review, so once again I didn't pay for it, but we're going to pass along the same to you guys if you're interested in doing something like this. So yeah, that's about all I can think of right now. I'm done with this. I don't want to ever do another one. But yeah, needs to be a little faster, but it does work. Well, that's it for this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I will give a shout out to my friend Michael Bodner at the Tesla Tunity YouTube channel. If you want a very thorough installation process of a kit that's very similar to this, follow his directions. It's quite good. I just gave you a quick overview of what's involved because there are only minor differences between this one and the one that he did. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. See you guys.